start, sir.
Well, my dear friends, I am going to deal with the topic, the theme of resurrection in A Tale of Two Cities. Now, before I actually discuss this topic, let me clarify one thing. Originally, the question I had suggested, or the topic I had suggested, was the theme of revitalization. But in a way, Reshma Khatun's question allowed me to do some rethinking. Reshma Khatun had asked me the question, why and how could we consider Sidney Carton as a Christ figure? Now, this actually set the ideational ball rolling, as they say, and I thought it would be better if we actually concentrate on the theme of resurrection rather than revitalization. In a way, much of the same thing will be discussed in both the topics. Revitalization is the kind of breathing new life into something, and resurrection is a kind of a regeneration, a kind of a rebirth, in a way, coming back to life after death. We all know that on Good Friday, all those years ago, Christ was crucified and died. And on the Easter Sunday, he was resurrected. He actually came back from the dead. And we all know about Quo Vadis Domini, or whither art thou going, Lord? That is a very quintessential question for Christianity. But if we actually look back at mythology of many other countries as well, we'll see that in classical Western mythology, for example, the tale of coming back to life or large-scale regeneration or transformation is not very uncommon. In Greco-Roman mythology, we come across Osiris, then Orpheus, and the phoenix, for example. That actually rises again from its own ashes. So all these very novel ideas, very, very, very pithy points, were there in ancient mythologies as well. In Christianity, we all know that the theme of resurrection is closely connected to the life of Christ, the death of Christ, and the resurrection of Christ. Christ was transformed into an eternal life through resurrection after sacrificing himself in the human cause. And this is the event factual or imaginary, that is not the question here. This is the event that led to the discussion of a kind of a new birth or a new life, Now, we have to understand one thing, that resurrection as an extended metaphor governs or covers not only a new life after death, but also a new kind of life that you metamorphose into within the same life event itself. You know, uh, in A Tale of Two Cities, for example, the theme of resurrection opens and closes the book. First of all, we have to understand that the first book is called Recall to Life, a cryptic message that Mr. Jarvis Lorry receives and which, in a very cryptical manner, refers to Alexander Manet, Dr. Alexander Manet, one time customer of the Tellson's Bank and someone who had been imprisoned for long 18 years for daring to disobey or to expose the same government brothers. Now, we all know that Dr. Manet, the very useful member of the society, was imprisoned at the Bastille as a political prisoner for long 18 years. Why? Because, uh, uh, this 18-year imprisonment for Dr. Manet that he was actually destined to endure in his own life leaves him an utter nervous wreck with no understanding or recollection of memory or identity. Ultimately, however, it is the loving care and companionship of his daughter, Lucy Manet, that restores Dr. Manet into full vigor and also his own professional knowledge that helps him to do good to society at large. So after being buried alive almost, he comes back to life and resumes his duty as a responsible citizen, thereby hinting at a theme of regeneration in the air. The next one that we may talk about in the case of resurrection, is obviously Jerry Cruncher, the resurrection man, who was a grave thief, who actually dug up the recently excavated caves and ultimately sold the corpses and their body parts. So, Jerry Cruncher becomes almost a resurrection man because he is actually getting back the excuse me. Jerry Cruncher ultimately gets a kind of a regeneration in his own life because through his devotion to the Manet household, he becomes a better human being and is transformed from a thief into a protector. Similarly, the third character whom we should actually think about while discussing the question of question of finding out a new life. Sidney Carton, almost all his life, has led some kind of a life of indolence and indifference, apathy. But the radiant presence of Lucy Manet, who has already brought his father to the threshold of sanity. Actually, does her magic all over again. Sidney Carton is saved from his inner demons by his great love for Lucy. Ultimately, after the uh, outbreak of the French Revolution, we all know that Charles Darnay receives the summons from his long-time servant, family servant, that is Moshe Gabel, and goes there. Sidney Carton had once resurrected Charles Darnay by pointing out at the Old Bailey the extraordinary physical resemblance between the two. So in a way, he had resurrected Charles Darnay. Now he has to resurrect himself. And in the process, Charles Darnay also recovers another kind of a streak of life. First at the Old Bailey, where he could very easily have been executed for being a spy, and then at the hands of the irate peasants of France. Okay. So, at the fag end of the novel, Sidney Carton martyrs himself, actually sacrifices himself in order to see everyone else happy. So, Sidney Carton not only dies for Charles Darnay and Lucy Manet and the entire family, Sidney Carton, in death, secures for himself the dizzy heights of heroism to which he could never aspire in life. Sidney Carton becomes prophetic at the fag end of the novel before he goes to the guillotine. Actually, there is and has been a great understanding of the situation in France. The old regime is dead. Its nepotism, corruption, autocracy, all are things of the past. Similarly, one day even the bloodthirst of the mob will also be satiated. And that is how Sidney Carton refers to a city of the future, a people of the future that will be unstained by the excesses of the revolution and also the grinding poverty of the earlier era. So, we'll see that the prophetic Sidney Carton dies with a vision of a better Paris, a better land, capable of looking after itself or herself, and also Sidney Carton is resurrected in the form of Lucy Manet's son, Sidney Darnay. So, in a nutshell, we can say that resurrection, with its entire biblical paraphernalia, had come to a better solution, a better kind of a life of peace, prosperity, and equity. And these prophetic words of Sidney Carton, along with the biblical quotes, I am the resurrection and the life, faith the Lord, he that believeth in me, though he be dead, yet shall he live, and whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. This also gives to the novel the amenability towards a reading from the perspective of resurrection. I hope this discussion will help you in understanding the nitty-gritties of the materials that I am going to provide you with. Most probably by now you have received.
Well, this short audio is going to answer
Okay.
Reshma's question, even though Reshma is actually...
And with this we come to the
there has been a typing mistake. It should be
topical discussion
why
on
is Sidney Carton
from next day onwards. I am going to deal with
Christ figure, not
a famous play, a hilarious play.
I'm sure Reshma has
the importance of being honest.
Committed this mistake by oversight. So Reshma, no need to feel bad about it. We often commit such typing mistakes. Now, why is Sidney Carton considered to be a Christ figure? Now, first thing you have to understand, Christ and Christ figure are not the same. Because the scale is not the same. Sidney Carton, a la Christ, dies for others. A la means in the manner of. Just like. Sidney Carton, a la Christ, dies for others. He is a martyr. In order to save others, he lays down his life. And this makes him a Christ figure because Christ had also bled and died for our sins and to save us. There is a famous Boney M. number. God's own child, Jesus Christ, was born on the Christmas day, and man will live forevermore because of the Christmas day. So, this is there. At the same time, the biblical parallels between Christ's life and Carton's life are deliberately played up by Charles Dickens, because he from time to time refers to the acts of little kindnesses performed by someone like Sidney Carton. And there are biblical quotations and allusions aplenty in the case of Sidney Carton, one of which is concerned with the resurrection of human beings. So, another issue is to be discussed as Sidney Carton's prophetic deportment, even at the time of his execution by guillotine. This is something that is very, very essential in any discussion of Sidney Carton as a Christ figure, because he thinks of a future, a glorious future for his dear ones and for the place of France, the land of France, the populace of France. whom he blesses, which is dying breath. So I think this will adequately answer Reshma's query. Thank you.